There's a voice inside you that never shuts up, an ancestral whisper emerging from the depths of your being like a demon disguised as a need. It whispers in moments of loneliness, screams in times of boredom, and roars during periods of stress. It's the voice that convinces you that you need, that you deserve, that you must seek sexual gratification at any cost. But what if I told you that this voice isn't yours? What if I revealed that you've been an unconscious slave to a program installed in your mind since birth, a code that turns you into a beggar of pleasure when you should be the king of your own vital energy? The question that should echo in your consciousness right now is disturbing and necessary. How many times have you felt like you had no choice? How many times has this inner voice dragged you into behaviors that deep down you knew weakened you? How many times have you yielded to the impulse and then felt empty, diminished, as if a part of your essence had been drained into a bottomless abyss? This isn't a conversation about morality. We're not here to judge or condemn. We're here to awaken something much deeper, the understanding that your sexual energy is the most powerful force you possess, and that modern society has taught you to waste it like a drunkard squanders gold in a dark tavern. Napoleon Hill, one of the greatest students of the human mind, discovered a secret that the masses ignore. Sexual energy is creative energy in its purest form, and when you learn to consciously transmute it, you not only break free from compulsion, you become a magnetic, focused, and high-achieving being. We live in an age that glorifies instant gratification and demonizes self-control. We are bombarded daily with stimuli that activate our primitive pleasure centers, creating a society of functional addicts seeking constant escape through sexual gratification. But notice the cruel irony: the more we seek pleasure, the less genuine pleasure we experience. The more we succumb to impulses, the more enslaved we become. It's like trying to quench thirst by drinking salt water. Each sip increases the thirst instead of satisfying it. The voice that compels you to seek sex at any cost doesn't arise from emptiness. It's fueled by deep layers of social conditioning, unprocessed emotional trauma, and a fundamental disconnect from your life's purpose. When a man doesn't have a clear mission, when he doesn't cultivate conscious discipline, when he doesn't understand the transformative power of his vital energy, this energy becomes a burden instead of a blessing. It manifests as compulsion, as anxiety, as a hunger that can never be truly satisfied. Napoleon Hill observed that the most successful and accomplished men shared one characteristic: they had learned to transmute their sexual energy into creative and fulfilling energy. Not through repression, which is merely pushing the energy into the shadows where it becomes even more destructive, but through conscious transmutation. They understood that the same force that creates life can create empires, works of art, scientific discoveries, and profound spiritual transformations. Think of sexual energy as fire. Fire can burn your house to the ground, or it can warm your family and cook your food. The difference lies not in the fire itself, but in the consciousness and skill of the one who handles it. The unconscious man is burned by his own sexual energy. The conscious man uses it as fuel to forge his reality according to his will. The first key to silencing this compulsive voice is to understand its true nature. It's not you. It's a program running in the background of your mind, like a computer virus, that consumes resources and diminishes system performance. This program was installed through years of conditioning, trauma, poorly processed experiences, and a culture that taught you to identify your identity with your impulses. When you feel the compulsive sexual urge, stop for a moment and observe. Don't judge, don't immediately resist, simply observe. Ask yourself, what am I really seeking here? Is it physical pleasure, or is it escape from some emotional pain? Is it genuine connection, or is it avoidance of loneliness? Is it an expression of vitality, or is it an escape from responsibility? In most cases, you'll discover that behind the sexual impulse lies an unmet emotional need, an unfilled existential void, or an unresolved tension. The inner warrior within you understands that every impulse carries a message. Compulsive sexual energy usually arises when you're disconnected from your purpose, when your life lacks deep meaning, when you're not challenging yourself in ways that honor your essential nature. It's the soul crying out for creative expression, for authentic connection, for transcendence of self-imposed limitations. Napoleon Hill discovered that when a man learns to channel his sexual energy towards higher goals, several remarkable transformations occur. First, his mental clarity increases dramatically. The mind that isn't constantly drained by compulsive impulses can focus with laser intensity on important goals. Second, his personal magnetism intensifies. There's a presence, a vital force that emanates from men who have mastered their sexual energy. Others can instinctively sense it. Third, his creative capacity explodes. The same energy that creates life can create art, businesses, innovative solutions, and profound personal transformations. But how exactly do you perform this transmutation? How do you transform primitive impulse into refined power? The process begins with the recognition that you are not your emotions, you are not your thoughts, and you are definitely not your impulses. You are the consciousness that observes all of this. When the compulsive voice arises, instead of identifying with it or brutally resisting it, you recognize it as energy that can be redirected. Imagine your sexual energy as a powerful river current. Without conscious direction, it can cause devastating floods. But when you build the right channels, that same current can generate electricity to power entire cities. Spiritual discipline, intense physical training, artistic creation, building a business, developing skills, these are all channels through which your vital energy can flow constructively. The process of transmutation requires you to develop a completely new relationship with discomfort. Modern society has taught us that discomfort should be avoided at all costs, that all tension should be immediately relieved. But the discomfort of untransmuted sexual energy is actually a sign that there's accumulated power waiting for conscious direction. It's like pressure in a pressure cooker. It can be destructive if not managed properly, but it can also cook food impossible to prepare otherwise. When you feel the sexual urge, instead of immediately giving in or brutally resisting, try redirecting that energy into a creative or constructive activity. Hit the gym hard, work on an important project, practice a challenging skill, immerse yourself in deep meditation, write, create, build. What you'll discover is that the same intensity you were seeking sexual escape from can be channeled into achievements that genuinely nourish and strengthen you. The journey of sexual transmutation is fundamentally a journey of integrating your shadows. Carl Jung understood that what we repress doesn't disappear. It hides in the depths of the psyche and influences our behavior in unconscious ways. The man who completely denies his sexual nature becomes rigid, lifeless, disconnected from his vital force. But the man who is enslaved by it becomes compulsive, weak, unable to focus on higher goals. True mastery arises when you can fully feel your sexual energy, honor it as a sacred force, and then consciously direct it toward purposes that elevate your existence. It's not about killing desire, it's about becoming its master instead of its slave. If you're truly committed to this transformation, if you feel these words are awakening something dormant within you, I need you to do something important right now. Subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell, because what I'm sharing here isn't just information, it's a roadmap to a transformation that can revolutionize your life. Many men spend decades battling urges they never understood, wasting precious energy that could be building the future of their dreams. By subscribing, you're declaring that you're ready for this journey of personal mastery, and I commit to guiding you through every step of this transformation. Don't let this opportunity pass. Your most powerful self is waiting on the other side of this decision. The process of silencing the compulsive voice requires you to develop new neural pathways. Your brain has been conditioned over years to associate certain situations, emotions, and internal states with the pursuit of sexual gratification. When you feel stressed, the voice whispers that you need relief. When you feel lonely, it promises connection through physical pleasure. When you feel bored, it offers excitement through sexual stimulation. But here's the truth that can set you free. You can recondition these associations. Through conscious and consistent practice, you can train your brain to associate these same internal states with activities that genuinely strengthen and uplift you. When you feel stressed, Instead of seeking sexual escape, you can automatically direct yourself to intense physical exercise. When you feel lonely, instead of seeking superficial connection, you can connect with your own essence through meditation or artistic creation. Napoleon Hill identified that the most successful men possessed what he called controlled attention. They had developed the ability to consciously direct their attention instead of being dragged along by every impulse that arose. This is a skill that can be developed, but it requires dedicated practice and self-compassion. One of the deepest aspects of sexual transmutation is understanding that your sexual energy is intrinsically connected with your creative and spiritual energy. In Eastern spiritual traditions, this energy is known as Kundalini, a serpent-like force that sleeps at the base of the spine and, when awakened and properly channeled, can lead to spiritual enlightenment. In the West, we tend to see sexuality and spirituality as opposing forces, but the truth is they are different aspects of the same fundamental life force. When you repress your sexuality completely, you also repress your creativity and spirituality. When you completely surrender to sexual impulses without awareness, you waste energy that could be fueling your creative and spiritual evolution. The path to mastery is to find the balance, to honor your sexual nature while consciously directing that energy toward higher purposes. The practice of sexual transmutation also develops character qualities that are essential for success in any area of life. Discipline, patience, self-control, clarity of intention, the ability to delay gratification, all these qualities are strengthened when you learn to master your sexual energy. It's like weightlifting for your soul. The more you consciously practice redirecting your vital energy, the stronger you become in all aspects. But there's a crucial point that must be understood. Sexual transmutation is not about becoming an ascetic or a monk who completely denies their humanity. It's about becoming an integrated human being who can access their sexual energy when appropriate and redirect it when necessary. A man who has mastered this art can have deep and fulfilling sexual relationships when he chooses, but he is not compelled by unconscious urges when he has important work to do. The difference lies in conscious choice versus unconscious compulsion. The sex addict has no real choice. He's driven by impulses that control his life. The sexually masterful man always has a choice. He can engage with his sexuality or transmute it according to his needs and goals at the moment. This mastery also transforms the quality of his sexual experiences when he chooses to have them. When he's not constantly draining his vital energy through compulsive urges, when he accumulates and refines that energy through conscious practice, his intimate experiences become far more intense, connected, and transformative. It's the difference between eating when you're hungry versus constantly snacking when bored. Genuine hunger makes a meal a far richer and more satisfying experience. Developing sexual mastery also connects you with deeper aspects of your masculinity. Our modern culture has created a distorted version of masculinity based on external achievement, toxic competition, and emotional suppression. But true masculinity, integrated and mature masculinity, is based on self-mastery, the ability to protect and nurture what you love, and the ability to channel your vital force toward purposes that benefit not only yourself, but also those around you. When a man masters his sexual energy, he naturally becomes more attractive, not in a manipulative or predatory way, but in a magnetic and authentic way. There's a presence, a solidity, a quiet confidence that emanates from men who are not slaves to their impulses. Women sense this instinctively, as do other men. It's the magnetism of self-mastery, the attraction of refined inner strength. The journey of transmutation also teaches you about the cyclical nature of energy. Like the ocean tides, your sexual energy has natural ebbs and flows. Learning to work with these cycles instead of against them is an art that develops with practice. There are times when energy is high and can be easily channeled into creative projects or spiritual practices. There are other times when energy is low, and it's best to rest and restore. Modern society has taught us to fight against our natural rhythms, to force constant productivity and constant stimulation. But when you learn to work with the natural cycles of your energy, you become far more effective and far less prone to compulsion. It's like learning to sail with the winds instead of against them. An often overlooked aspect of sexual transmutation is the development of energetic sensitivity. When you're not constantly discharging your energy through compulsive urges, you begin to develop a more refined perception of energetic states, your own and others. You can sense when your energy is high or low, when it needs to be channeled, or when it needs to be restored. You also become more attuned to the energies of the people around you, which dramatically improves your interpersonal and leadership skills. This energetic sensitivity also allows you to recognize when the compulsive voice is arising not from a genuine sexual need, but from other factors: stress, boredom, emotional avoidance, external influences. When you can identify these influences more clearly, you can respond more consciously instead of reacting automatically. The practice of sexual transmutation also cultivates spiritual qualities like compassion, patience, and humility. When you recognize how powerful these primal urges are, you develop compassion for others who struggle with the same forces. When you practice patience with yourself during the transformative process, you develop genuine patience that extends to all areas of your life. And when you recognize that mastering these forces is a lifelong process, you develop genuine humility about the nature of the human condition. But perhaps the deepest aspect of this journey is discovering who you truly are when you're not being driven by unconscious impulses. Many men never know their true nature because they're constantly reacting to external stimuli or internal urges. When you develop the space between impulse and action, when you learn to pause and consciously choose how to respond, you begin to discover your authentic self. This discovery is simultaneously humbling and empowering. Humbling because you realize how much of your life has been driven by unconscious forces. Empowering because you realize you have far more control over your experience than you ever imagined. You are not a victim of your impulses or your circumstances. You are the author of your experience when you choose to consciously exercise that power. The journey also teaches you about the difference between pleasure and joy. Pleasure is a temporary sensory experience that depends on external stimuli. Joy is a deep state of being that arises from alignment with your higher purpose and values. When you're constantly seeking pleasure through sexual gratification, you're inadvertently shutting yourself off from the possibility of experiencing genuine joy. But when you learn to transmute your sexual energy, you don't just forego temporary pleasure, you open the door to far deeper levels of satisfaction and fulfillment. It's like trading a sugary snack for a nutritious meal. It may not provide the same instant pleasure spike, but it nourishes you in far deeper and more lasting ways. As you progress on this journey, you'll begin to notice subtle but significant changes in how you relate to everything in life. You become less reactive and more responsive. You develop a greater capacity to be present in the moment instead of constantly seeking escape or stimulation. You cultivate genuine patience and the ability to work steadily toward long-term goals without needing constant gratification. These qualities aren't limited to the sexual realm, they extend to every aspect of your life. You become better at maintaining discipline in your health practices, more focused on your professional goals, more present in your relationships, more connected to your spiritual life. The energy that was previously wasted on compulsions is now available to build the life of your dreams. The climax of this journey is realizing you always had the power to choose. The voice that compelled you to seek sex at any cost wasn't some invisible external force controlling you. It was an internal pattern you fueled through years of unconscious choices. And just as you fueled this pattern, you can defuel it through consistent conscious choices. This realization is simultaneously liberating and terrifying. Liberating because it means you have the power to change any aspect of your life through consistent conscious choice. Terrifying because it means you are responsible for your experience. You can no longer blame uncontrollable urges or external circumstances for the quality of your life. But it's precisely this responsibility that makes you truly free. When you accept total responsibility for your internal experience, you become capable of intentionally creating the quality of life you desire. You cease being a leaf at the whim of impulses and circumstances, and become the conscious captain of your own ship. The voice that previously compelled you to seek sex at any cost transforms. It doesn't disappear completely, it remains part of your human nature, but it shifts from master to servant. Instead of compulsively controlling you, it informs you about your energy levels and your need for creative expression. Instead of dragging you into behaviors that weaken you, it inspires you to channel your life force into purposes that strengthen you. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's a process that requires dedication, patience, and self-compassion. There will be moments of weakness, moments when you succumb to old patterns, moments when you question whether the journey is worthwhile. These moments aren't failures, they're a natural part of the growth process. The important thing is to always return to the practice. Always consciously choose to respond instead of automatically reacting. Remember, you're not trying to become perfect, you're trying to become conscious. You're not trying to eliminate your humanity, you're trying to elevate your humanity. You're not trying to deny your needs, you're learning to meet your needs in ways that honor your higher nature. The man who completes this journey of sexual transmutation isn't one who never feels urges or temptations. He's the one who, when he feels them, can pause, breathe, and consciously choose how to respond. He's the one who has transformed his sexual energy from a compulsive burden into a source of power, creativity, and fulfillment. He's the one who has discovered that true freedom doesn't come from satisfying every urge, but from having the power to consciously choose which urges to satisfy and when. This is the inner alchemy that Napoleon Hill discovered in the most successful men of his era. This is the transmutation that turns the lead of primal impulses into the gold of conscious achievement. This is the journey every man must undertake if he wants to become truly free, truly powerful, truly fulfilled. The voice that once compelled you now invites you. The urge that once controlled you now serves you. The energy that once weakened you now strengthens you. You have become the master of your own life force, the alchemist of your own experience, the conscious architect of your own destiny. And in this moment of mastery, you realize you always had this power. It was always within you, waiting for you to decide to claim it. The journey didn't give you something new. It reconnected you to something that was always yours by divine right. You were always free. You always had choice. You were always powerful. Now you simply know it, live it, and express it through every conscious choice you make. The voice has fallen silent, not because it was destroyed, but because it was integrated. It now speaks the language of wisdom instead of compulsion, whispers possibilities instead of demands, offers energy to your dreams instead of draining it for temporary voids. You have finally come home, to yourself, to your power, to your freedom, to consciously choose how to live every moment of your precious life.